Hello, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Football. My name is John Halpin alongside Chris Palmer. Chris Palmer, how are we doing today?
Doing good, man. Championship caliber football. Here we come. What a weekend we had.
And then there was four. So the final four teams have been decided. So let's briefly go over our divisional round recap, starting with the Kansas City Chiefs getting it done over the Jacksonville Jaguars, 27-20. But man, this was a good game to watch.
It was a lot of fun. Jacksonville definitely kept it close, and I'll tell you, right where the game turned and Jacksonville really couldn't come back was that kickoff return. When the kicker on Kansas City stopped that return for a touchdown, that's when the momentum was completely sucked out of Jacksonville, and Kansas City just put their foot on their throat and said, "You're done. That's it."
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Chad Henne getting it done on a crucial drive. He went 5 for 7, drove down the field 98 yards. Scored a touchdown. That was exactly what the doctor ordered. Yes. So shout out to Chad Henne. And the Chiefs move on to the AFC title game in Arrowhead. So let's move on to the second game on Saturday, the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants in a matchup that was not even close, 38-7, Eagles over the Giants. Oh, man, Philly flexed their muscles this game.
Yeah, they showed why they had the first round bye, number one. This also just shows the difference between a team that had playoff hopes and a team that is primed for a Super Bowl. The talent is just too different. But again, Giants fans, keep your heads up because there's some promise where you guys are at.
There is definitely a lot of promise for the New York Giants. So the Eagles move on to the NFC title game. And so AFC's in Kansas City. NFC's in Philadelphia. And so the Chiefs will be playing against the Cincinnati Bengals, who beat the Buffalo Bills 27-10 in Buffalo in the snow. Woo! Bengals, they look hot.
Yeah. You look back at that game, Cincinnati, they ran all over Buffalo. They were just the more physical, the faster, the stronger team. They were more ready. And again, I've been saying it for about 8-9 weeks now. That injury to Josh Allen where he now had to force the long ball, that's truthfully what killed them this year, was that injury.
Yeah, it definitely had an effect on Josh Allen's play. But even in this game, Josh Allen did not play well, but they did not have a good game plan going into it. And I think this was very indicative of just a lot of Bills' heartbreak. Year after year, they just get outplayed by just better teams. Past couple years it was the Chiefs, now it's the Bengals. And now the Bengals move on to their second straight AFC title game to play the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Ooh, that's going to be a great matchup. So let's move on to the winners of the Sunday night primetime game. The San Francisco 49ers beat the Dallas Cowboys 19-12. San Fran moves on, and Dallas goes home.
Once again, Dallas goes home, and, Dak's a choke artist. This is what it is. His legacy is you can get one game that you're supposed to win, but as soon as you play a team of upper talent, you cannot step up to the plate.
Yeah, it seems to be the divisional round is the kryptonite to the Cowboys because Dak Prescott is 0-4 now in the divisional round, and it's disheartening for Dallas because, they wanted to go to their first NFC title game in 27 years, but it's going to have to wait. It's going to be a while before they get back because they have a lot of questions to answer for. But they're just another team that is going to be watching the Super Bowl from home.
Something that I actually saw about Dallas is that they fired both their offensive and defensive coordinator after this game, but Mike McCarthy still has a job.
Yes, he does.
And Jerry Jones' opinion of Mike McCarthy was not swayed from this game.
No. But so the games are set. We have some great matchups to talk about, so we're just going to get right into it. And starting with the NFC title game, the 49ers coming into Philadelphia to play the Eagles. This is a great matchup.
You want to talk about a Cinderella story, my dude? Look in San Francisco. You don't have to look any further than that team to look at a true Cinderella story with Brock Purdy and that offense. Mm-hmm. Holy shit. This kid is on such a tear. 7 games in a row, wins with more than a touchdown on his belt, over 200 yards passing per game, really not turning the ball over. This kid is something else.
Man, Brock Purdy it's crazy to think how effective the 49ers have been on offense with him under center, because they average, with under his 7 starts, both 5 in the regular season and the 2 in the playoffs, he's averaging 32 points a game, which is ridiculous to think about. But even though last game they only scored 19 points against the Cowboys, but the Cowboys, again, they did have the secret sauce to really undermine that 49ers offense, and that's getting pressure on Brock Purdy. It's making him feel uncomfortable. And they did for the most part, but the Cowboys, their offense failed them. There was a lot of missed opportunities. Dak had 2 ugly interceptions. One was definitely his fault, the first one against the cornerback. But the second one was deflected off CeeDee Lamb's hands. Mm-hmm. Fred Warner was at the right place at the right time and just picked it right off. And that was in the red zone, too.
Yes.
So crucial turnovers cost the Cowboys, but they could have had a chance to win. So the 49ers, as well as Brock Purdy has been playing, as well as the Niners have been, they're still, again, they're a mortal team. And I think their big weakness is protecting Purdy. Now, their offensive line is great, don't get me wrong. But Philly matches up extremely well, because that defensive line for Philly is hellacious. There's no one particular star on it, but they have a great rotation of Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Robert Quinn. They just keep rotating great players. The rookie, I forget the rookie's name.
What rookie?
From
the tackle from Georgia?
Yeah.
Oh, I know I can't remember his name, but he's a big dude. He's like 6'10", 320 or something like that. He's a big dude.
It's going to come to me. Nevertheless, Philly matches up great to really stifle the 49ers and their offense. Now, again, this is going to be a rushing game. Not necessarily rush in, but rushing. A lot of running attempts.
Jordan Davis,
that's who it is. Thank you. And both teams do it different ways. The 49ers do it through creative play calling, while the Eagles are just a smash mouth football team, and they will just pound the ball. They ran for 270 yards of rushing against the Giants. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, that is 100% ridiculous. And, like to your point about the Cowboys, they were just coming up short and pretty much beating themselves. You aren't going to find that with Philly. Philly finds reasons to make you beat yourself, and that's really, Philly makes you your own worst enemy. But the thing is, we kind of have to take a step back for a second when it comes to Brock Purdy on the 49ers. Every step this kid is taking is uncharted territory for him.
Mm-hmm.
So Dallas, they capitalized in putting pressure on him, not only just by physical pass rush. They put him into situations that he has never been in before. So he has to learn on the fly. The on-the-fly learning from this kid is really what's setting him apart from a lot of the quarterbacks that he's beaten. Think about his first game when he played Tom Brady. His first start against Tom Brady, that's the most uncharted waters you could ever walk into.
Mm-hmm.
Because historically, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, they beat up rookies. And this kid came in and punched Tom Brady in the mouth.
35-7 was that score.
Punched him in the mouth as hard as he could. And he made a statement. Broke through the door, said, "Hi, I'm here to play." Now everyone's heads are turning. We were talking about it off air. In the regular season, he threw for 1,374 yards, 13 touchdowns to 4 interceptions with a QB rating of 107.
Ridiculous.
Now, if there was another name attached to that, with just the amount of games, that's 5 games he's played. If by 5 games Patrick Mahomes had 13 touchdowns to 4 interceptions with a QB rating of 107 and almost 2,000 yards passing, everyone would be screaming MVP year.
Mm-hmm.
Brock Purdy is having an MVP year within 5 weeks.
Do you think he will get Offensive Rookie of the Year? For only playing those 5 games in the regular season?
You see, that's a very interesting question, because you got to think of quality over quantity, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But the quantity still can't outmeasure. Like, if you played a full season, that should really put you, no matter how good he's played in 5 games, you've played a full season. So you're more credible to win of the year, not of the past 5 games. Because, again, it's uncharted. No one knows just how consistent he's going to be throughout a full season. 5 games, you can start out the gate hot. We've seen a lot of teams go 5-0 in the first 5 games. And then all of a sudden you realize they lose 4 straight and the quarterback plays like shit. And then you realize, oh, fuck, they're 5-4. So it's like they become more mortal. This kid is on a very big head rush. He needs to know what it's like to lose in this league and overcome it. So we've seen the highs of Brock Purdy. Now it's what's going to happen when the drop happens.
I think the biggest challenge is, for this game in particular, if the Eagles get a big lead, what does he look like under pressure? What does he look like under the microscope? Like, when you have to score almost every possession you can to get back in this game, can you do it? And I believe there was a game.
I was going to ask that if there was a game where he had to make a comeback.
There was a game not in the NFL, no, because he's basically had the lead every single game that he's played. If I'm not mistaken, every game he's had the lead, and they never really relinquished it. Philly does a great job of that too.
They both do great jobs.
So that's the thing. It's like Philly will get a lead, and they will keep the lead, and there's nothing you can do about it. But in college, I forget who they played against, but he was down like 40 or like 35 to 14 or something like that. Came back, it was 42-41, and he was making the play for a 2-point conversion. Didn't make it, but ultimately got them within a play to win that game. I forget against who, but
Wasn't that against Jalen Hurts' Oklahoma team?
I'm not sure if it was that game in particular.
Okay,
but I know he's shown at least the capability to do that in college. And if he could do that, then obviously he's on a different team now. The NFL is a whole entirely different beast. But do you still have that capability to get back in the game? And I think for Jalen Hurts, we've seen it. And obviously, Philly's not, again, they're not a perfect team, but they're a flawed team as well. But they're probably the best well-rounded team there is. And they match up so well against the 49ers. Like, both teams match up so well against one another. There's going to be so many great individual matchups to watch. So when Philly's on offense and it's the 49ers defense, look for Nick Bosa on Lane Johnson. Oh, that is going to be a hellacious matchup. And then whoever they put on Jason Kelce, because
he's going to have a rough day.
Shout out to the offensive line for Philly, man, because that offensive line is the best in the league, and they are having a phenomenal year, which is allowing them to just win and dominate games.
Well, yeah, we've been saying it for probably a little over a season now that it's the run-heavy teams that are really starting to break out in this league. But people need to understand that without the offensive line, there are no skill guys. There is no skills set package without a good offensive line. And without the offensive line that Philly has, this is one of the best offensive lines I've ever seen as a football player. They are absolutely out of this world good. Jason Kelce is one of the best centers to ever come through the league. And I'm going to say that outright.
He's a Hall of Famer.
He's 100% a Hall of Famer.
100% a Hall of Famer.
Multi-time first-team All-Pro, multiple-time Pro Bowler. He's going to have another ring this year. This guy is out of his mind. The Kelce family is great. Keep that in mind because we're also seeing another Kelce in the AFC. So the Kelce family is a great spawn of football. And what you like the Lane Johnson-Nick Bosa matchup, I like the Jason Kelce-Fred Warner matchup on the second level. Because as we just said, Philly likes to run. They like to do a lot of zone reads. And that's pulling Jason Kelce up to the second level. And Fred Warner is one of the most physical linebackers in the league. Jason Kelce is not afraid to get physical at all.
No.
That is going to be such a fist fight between the two of them. Oh my God, I cannot wait to watch them battle on the second level trying to get extra yards. When I was watching last week with San Francisco, my eyes really couldn't get off of Fred Warner. He is such a good linebacker. But Jason Kelce, I feel like, is that much better of a center. to help with the run protection.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing too is like you can blitz as much as you want, but Philly
There's a wall in Philadelphia.
there's a massive wall, the Great Wall of Philadelphia. Like that's really what it is they have a massive.
That's a statement.
I mean, I would say so. I mean, if they make it even if they make it to the Super Bowl, they don't even have to make it to the Super Bowl because their running stats speak for themselves. Like the fact that Jalen Hurts had an MVP caliber year under that offensive line, and they were again. I don't think they were the number one rushing team. They might have been, if not, they were number two. But either way, they are one of the best rushing teams in the league, and it all because of that offensive line.
100%.
Philly is winning these games because they are winning in the trenches, both offensively and defensively, and that's where the real battle is. So as much as we want to keep our eyes on Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown and
Devonta Smith.
Look at number 60, man. Number 60, Jason Kelsey. He's absolutely an animal. Lane Johnson, that whole offensive line, man. They're just so good.
This fight in the offensive line, man, it's going to be absolutely out of this world. I cannot wait. You know, a lot of people, when they sit and watch a football game, they don't really focus on the offensive line or any type of open field blocks or anything like that. If there was ever a game to watch, open field blocking, pull blocking, anything that comes with like really elite offensive line play, this is the game to watch, specifically on Philadelphia's side.
Mm-hmm.
When they run their spread offense, you'll notice that there's two different types of packages in Philly where the offensive line is either their hands are on their hips, they're getting ready to move, or they're in a 3-point stance. And that's more so when coaching comes into a factor as to what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
With their hands are on their hips, more or less, they're running a zone option, which is outside the tackle's left shoulder. When their hands are in the dirt, it's usually going to wind up being either a north-south run, a play action, or some type of read option.
Mm-hmm.
When they go into the spread offense, you're usually either in pistol, shotgun, full house, whatever that play package calls for. But there's usually going to be more than just the skill guys moving. It's going to be moving offensive linemen,
Mm-hmm.
moving for a pull block, a push block, something like that. And you're going to watch a lot of pancakes this week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. I can't wait for this offensive line matchup.
I think, honestly, you can tell in the first couple minutes of the game who's winning the battle of the trenches. That's probably going to indicate to you who's going to win this game because nothing can be done if you can't block properly to either run the ball or pass the ball. And that's why, that's why last year for the Cincinnati was their greatest flaw was just keeping Joe Burrow sacked the whole time.
Keeping him safe.
Keeping him sacked. Like, he was just getting sacked the whole time. Now they beefed up their offensive line, and they're even though they're hurt, they're still playing effectively. But it's that bad offensive line play, which is what cost them the Super Bowl, because they were against another team that could match up against them and really force them to make their quarterback uncomfortable. And I think that the 49ers, they have the personnel to do that for Philly. But, man, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be hard. And especially when there's so many great – outside of your offensive line, there's so many great playmakers on Philly. Like, we talk about San Francisco's playmakers on their offense. I mean, don't get me wrong. They have a plethora of talent between Debo, Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Elijah Mitchell. Oh, C-Mac. Yeah. And they have this absurd depth of talent. Ray McLeod, too. They have an absurd depth of talent. But Philly has that, too. Philly has A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott. You have
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts, who's just a weapon unto himself. And both of these teams on both sides of the ball match up so well against each other. It's going to be – I'm so looking forward to this game because this is going to be a battle of the trenches, physical, running game, and you'll be able to see whoever has the dirtiest jersey is probably going to be who has the biggest impact on the game.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm so excited for this game.
This is going to be a phenomenal game. Any final thoughts on this game?
Again, just if there was any game to watch, if you want to watch elite offensive line play and defensive line play in the same right on both sides, this is the game to watch. This is going to be, in my opinion, this is going to be a pretty low scoring game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is going to be a barn burner by any means or anything like that. We will see some fireworks in the first opening set, but that's going to be the feel-up process.
Mm-hmm.
And then the clamps are going to come on. And then from then on, it's just going to be an absolute fist fight in between the numbers, and the clock's just going to run. And before we realize it, there's going to be 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and the game is going to be.
I will say that is a good point to make, because when teams run the ball effectively, they basically take away time that the other team could possibly have, and that's a key stat to look for, is time of possession. Like, who's holding the ball more? Who's keeping it long? Like, for instance, Cincinnati and Buffalo. Cincinnati dominated that time of possession. They never gave the ball to Buffalo. So that essentially took possessions away from Buffalo, and to the point where it's like you're in the second half, you don't have enough time to make any comeback.
Choice but to pass the
So
ball.
and again, both these teams like to run. So every possession is that much more critical, because you're not guaranteed the next one.
Right.
So, oh man. So with that being said, Chris Palmer, I turn to you and ask the question: who you got?
This is for the Super Bowl. You're gonna hate me. I'm going San Francisco.
I can't blame you, man.
I think Brock Purdy is going to answer the call of the Cinderella story, and he's gonna make it. He's gonna make it there. Winning is another conversation, but getting there, I think he can do it.
Honestly, I don't blame you, man, and I wouldn't be surprised if San Francisco made it, because they are just they're just made to go to the Super Bowl. They are just like
tailor-made.
Credit to their general manager for getting all the right players to fit cohesively, because both of these teams are extremely well-rounded football teams. And although, yes, they are flawed, they have some flaws, but they are the best well-rounded teams in the league going up against each other.
100%.
With that being said, I'm taking Philly. I just think that both these teams match up well, but I think they are the most well-rounded team in the league. They are offense, defense, secondary, special teams. Like they are just phenomenal, all phases of the ball, and they win the battle of the trenches. I'm taking Philly. You got San Fran.
I love this matchup, man, and I wouldn't be upset if Philly went, because I have a lot of love for Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith, and really I have a lot of love for AJ Brown. And the way he revived his career, it's only fitting that it answers with the Super Bowl.
I think I would be upset either way. If either one of these teams made it, I would not be upset. But so that's the NFC Championship game. So let's move on to the AFC Championship game. And we have a lot to talk about with this one. But it's the Cincinnati Bengals coming back to Arrowhead for the second year in a row. Round 4, Burrow, Mahomes. Chris Palmer, I'll let you start off on this one. Tell me, what are your thoughts going into this game?
Well, you heard the last game we just spoke about that I said that the clamps are going to be put on, and this game is going to fly by. Get ready for some for some flames in this game. The gun show has arrived in the AFC. You want to talk about rivalries for a minute, right? Everyone's trying to bring up the Mahomes-Josh Allen rivalry. What about the one that's right under our nose? It's the Mahomes-Joe Burrow rivalry.
It really is.
Like,
this is the rivalry now in the AFC.
This is slowly becoming like a Goku Vegeta type of deal. Like, as strong as Patrick Mahomes is getting, Vegeta, you have Joe Burrow, who's just there and is just better.
He's just eating noodles, too.
Right. He's just there.
Eating noodles and smoking cigars.
Right. He's just having fun, and Mahomes is having fun too, but you can see he has to work that much harder.
He's got to focus that much harder.
Right. It's almost effortless for Joe Burrow. It's like, I'll say it right, he is that generational talent that everyone's calling Trevor Lawrence. I'm not taking anything away from Trevor Lawrence. Joe Burrow, we're not going to see again.
This is what a first overall pick is supposed to look like.
Correct. Especially coming out and being notables told you're starting out the gate. Keep in mind, his first year was cut in half because of injury.
Mm-hmm.
So his second year, which was last year, he made it to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
This year, he is on the one team that is prepared to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. This is going to be a fight, man.
You know what it is in thematic literature, when like a hero emerges, like for instance Batman, he's there to overcorrect and establish a sense of order, establish a presence within like his city. And that's what the Chiefs have done within the football like community. Since Tom Brady has left the AFC, the Chiefs have been the team to establish dominance. They have become like Batman essentially, and like to establish their own order in the league, like Chiefs Kingdom. Like we thought after Mahomes' first Super Bowl, like this is going to be a dynasty. And honestly, part of me still thinks that. I still think they have the capability of making that because Mahomes is just that special.
Right.
But there's always that counterbalance, that ultimate evil or ultimate nemesis against that act of good to keep that balance in check. That's why Batman creates the Joker rises up to challenge Batman. And that's essentially what the Bengals have been to the Chiefs. Is like they are there to rise up and challenge the Chiefs.
Right.
And in the 3 times that they've played,
they haven't lost.
The Chiefs have not beaten the Bengals. So and so it's just crazy to think about that, and all the rivalries in NFL history have been different. There have been phenomenal ones that obviously the best one that we could think of is Brady and Manning. That's just probably the best rivalry in the league. Obviously, there's a lot of team rivalries too.
But player rivalries, that's probably the best one of merit.
Player rivalries, absolutely. I guess the one greatest quarterback rivalry prior to Brady and Manning might have been Staubach and Bradshaw back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Because like 2 superstar quarterbacks with teams tailor-made to win championships. Staubach, Bradshaw, Manning, Brady, Mahomes, Burrow.
Yeah, they're right up there in that caliber, man. It's crazy.
I think this game is going to be not only fantastic, but I think this game is going to be historic. I think we are going to witness history this game. I don't know what the hell the outcome will be, but damn the outcome. This game is going to be critical for either team to make it to the Super Bowl, where it's like the Bengals, you go back to back with Joe Burrow under center. It's like, my God, you put a statement in the AFC, be like, we are here and
we're here to stay.
And we are here to stay. And that's the scary part about the Bengals. And the Chiefs, but if the Chiefs make it, then it's like we are the team that like, we are Chiefs Kingdom.
Right.
And we are here to come too.
At this point, the Chiefs are the new protectors of the AFC Championship. For 20 years,
AFC title games.
It was the Patriots.
Yep.
For 20 years, it was the Patriots. Now it's the Chiefs, but here comes Cincinnati, man. This is our second straight. So you want your kingdom. We have our own little army going in right now, and guess what? You're going to have to defend that with everything you have.
Yep.
And again, all 4 of these teams going into the conference championship games are notably flawed. So on Kansas City's side, for a couple years now, it's been the same thing. They give up a ton of yards on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cincinnati is not that team. You cannot give up that many yards against Cincinnati. They are a score-quick, a score-heavy team, and they will just keep scoring until you have nothing left. You give them a 300-yard game with Joe Burrow, that's not going to be pretty because every one of those trips down the field will end in points. You cannot get them. We had a saying in high school when it came to our rivalries, Sayville.
Mm-hmm.
You get them on hour 40, they're probably going to score. So then that's pretty much it with Cincinnati. You get them over midfield, they're probably going to score, whether it be 3 or 7.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing for Kansas City, but Cincinnati does a lot better job at pushing people outside the numbers and causing 3 and outs.
Yeah.
They do a lot better job with that because we've been saying it all year that there's really not many people of huge merit on Cincinnati. You have Jesse Bates, you have what's his on defense?
Logan Wilson,
Logan Wilson,
Sam Hubbard,
You have a couple of people.
Eli Apple.
I'm not really for Eli Apple. He's played well this year. I was never huge on Eli Apple.
Von Bell.
I liked Eli Apple in Michigan when he was in college. Then he didn't really make much. He's playing very well now. I like Von Bell too.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they're more so the journeymen. Mm-hmm. So they all play together. Kansas City, same thing, but they don't have the notable numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati's way more physical, I feel, on defense.
I agree with you.
They're way more physical. The one thing I like about Cincinnati's defense the most is that there's multiple people attacking the ball carrier at all times.
Mm-hmm.
There's always more than one.
Mm-hmm.
But again, on Kansas City, they're just so slippery. They can just get past.
Yeah. That's the thing is offenses, it's hard to say. Personally, I would give the edge to the Chiefs because they do have the number one offense in the league. But obviously, Cincinnati's offense is good. So it's like, that's a coin flip, right? Better defense, without a doubt, that's Cincinnati. And you're right. The Chiefs' defense has not been great as of late. I think they have like a bottom 20 defense in the league. So it's really not that good. But, they effective enough. They do enough, but they will not be the reason they win games. No. It's all on Mahomes. And I think let's address the elephant in the room right now. Mahomes, he's going into this game injured.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
His right ankle got absolutely fucking twisted.
At the very least, he's going in with a high ankle sprain. The same injury actually happened to Tony Pollard, and Tony Pollard fractured his foot.
Yeah.
So it's being labeled as a high ankle sprain. We don't know the true depth of that injury to Patrick Mahomes.
Either way, he's going in hurt.
Right.
He's playing hurt in this game. And I think that's honestly, that's a huge factor there.
Huge.
But even still, it's like, I don't know. Me personally, we've seen Mahomes play hurt, and he plays fine. Like he's come back. What was it, the year that they won the Super Bowl? He missed a couple games because
of an ankle
injury. Yeah, came back. He was fine. And honestly, I think what's really going to happen in this game is similar to what we talked about last game against the Eagles and the 49ers. I think this game is going to be a run-heavy game because the Eagles and the Niners, they did not play each other this season. So there's really nothing to kind of go off of. But the Bengals and the Chiefs, they did play each other earlier in the season. And we can refer to that game as like, okay, what was the game plan? What did they want to do? And that game was a very run-heavy game from the outset. Now, to give you context, this was Week 13. This was the beginning of December. And there was a really big difference. Mahomes didn't play too well in that game. He was 16 for 27, 223 yards, 1 touchdown, compared to Burrow, who was 25 for 31, 286 yards, 2 touchdowns. So Burrow outplayed Mahomes. But the real big difference was they ran the ball effectively and just better. They had Samaje Perine in as their running back because Joe Mixon was hurt. Samaje Perine ran for 106 yards. But even though he had no touchdowns, time of possession, keeping the ball away from the Chiefs. And although the Chiefs, they did take the lead in that game, Travis Kelce cost it 1 turnover later. Bengals scored. They never looked back. And that's the game. And that's kind of what happened with, like, I can speak to that on that pain because that's kind of how it was for the Ravens, where it's like it just took 1 turnover and the Bengals took it and the clamps went on.
Right, and that's it. And that's the formula when it comes to Cincinnati. I've been saying it for weeks. They're opportunists. They will press you and press you and press you until you make one small mistake that turns into a catastrophic turnover.
In the fourth quarter.
Late. But the thing is, that comes from 3.5 quarters worth of pressure and dominance and physicality. And they're going to make, by the end of the game, you just played Cincinnati. You are so fucking tired. It's different. So fatigue is absolutely going to play a factor here when it comes to playing these teams. And you just said those stats yourself that Cincinnati, they got more yards.
Yeah.
The more holding a star like Mahomes to under 300 yards passing, not many teams can do it. And if you can do it and do it effectively, Cincinnati's done it 3 times in a row, where you hold him under a Hall of Fame caliber game. He's going to have to play Hall of Fame caliber football to get past Cincinnati's defense.
And honestly, that's a great point to make. Mahomes is going to have to play Hall of Fame caliber just to beat the Bengals, because it is not going to be easy. They're not going to make it easy for him at all. It's going to be an absolute slugfest. I think, honestly, both teams going into this game, I think, again, this is going to be a run-heavy team. The biggest star in this game for the Chiefs, the biggest X factor, is going to have to be Isaiah Pacheco, their running back, number 10. Not Tyreek Hill, number 10, but Isaiah Pacheco. He has been on fire as of late. They give him the ball, and I think that when they played against Cincinnati before, he only had 14 attempts for 66 yards and a touchdown. Now, the touchdown came on the goal line, so they just, they got the ball there. He was able to get the touchdown, but it's, again, those yards. Let's give him a little bit more attempts, control the clock, keep Joe Burrow and that offense off the field, because frankly, the Bengals have great offensive depth that they can attack the Chiefs defense on anything. They have 3 wide receivers that if you leave any one of them one-on-one, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, if you leave any of them one-on-one, they could just destroy the game. But you also have to keep an account for Joe Mixon, who ran for over 100 yards against the Bills last week. And the Bengals ran for 172 yards last week against the Bills. So they're not afraid to run the ball and keep the opposing team off the field. So I think both teams, as much as we want to think it's Mahomes and Burrow, and as much as we've been saying that, I want to see Mixon versus Pacheco. That's really going to be like, who's going to really exploit the holes on that defense, because if you're able to run the ball, you can control the game. You shorten the game.
Well, there's a saying in football, it's the first hit sends the tongue.
Yep.
So if Cincinnati comes out the way they played against Buffalo right now, and they they smack Kansas City in the mouth, first drive, they march down the field and they score. That's setting a tone that not a lot of people can answer to.
Yeah.
Now, Kansas City's offense can answer. It's Kansas City's defense that troubles me.
It is.
They trouble me a lot because of just how much yards they give up throughout the regular season and just as a whole, as a conglomerate. So you allow Joe Mixon to have a huge game. You're going to open up a whole mess of issues from the rest of the skill guys in Cincinnati. Like you just said, Jamar Chase is scary one-on-one. But you have such a good run game, you're going to have to start tightening up your box, leaving your skill guys one-on-one. It's just the thematic of how it works. You have a strong north-south run game. Defenses, gradually, they start moving closer. They bunch up the box so you can't run. So that's going to open up the pass game. It's just the way it goes. And Kansas City, your defense, I don't think it stacks up to the amount of versatility and just physicality that Cincinnati offense has. They make you, and that's when it comes down to coaching. Again, can't get away from the beast that is Andy Reid. It seems like Cincinnati's coach kind of has his number so far, but Andy Reid now has 3 losses worth of tape to learn from.
Yeah.
In a career of championship teams, if there's anyone who learns from losses, it's Andy Reid.
It is Andy Reid, and this is his 9th title game, AFC, NFC.
Yep.
So which is crazy to think about. But both of these teams, they just match up very well against each other, because it's just Andy Reid. He actually has the 5th most wins for head coaches of all time.
Yeah.
So, which is crazy, absolutely crazy to think about, because we think about Belichick, and obviously Don Shula holds the record for the most wins by a head coach, and Belichick's right there. In just a couple more seasons, he'll probably pass him. But Andy Reid wins games.
Yeah,
and he can do it with any personnel that you give him. He's like, hey, look, I will make a championship caliber team with this team.
Right.
and we will go places. And the Chiefs are like with him and Mahomes, it's a match made in heaven.
Shit, did it with Alex Smith.
With Alex Smith, I like that. I love that team. I love seeing Alex Smith like as a Chief under Andy Reid. And although like that offense was never as explosive as it was with like under Mahomes, it was still effective with great personnel. And Andy Reid knows how to utilize his players. He's had Jamal Charles before. He knows how to draw up a running game. He's had Dwayne Brown before. He knows how to like throw for passing. Tyreek Hill.
He's had Donovan McNabb.
He's got Donovan McNabb. He's got T.O.
Michael Vick.
Yeah, Michael Vick. Like he has coached great players, and honestly, like all the players that he's coached before, no player can ever say a bad thing about Andy Reid.
No,
he's a great guy. He's a smart head coach. He's got a heart as big as his stomach. But man, he can really draw up a game. And I think that Zach Taylor, the head coach for the Bengals, he's up there. He's like, okay, look, I know what you like to do, and I have the personnel that can exploit that, both offense and defense. And I think that it's going to be a phenomenal chess match between these two teams. And, oh, man, it's going to be, I think, a historic game to watch.
This is going to be one of the best AFC championships we've ever watched. This is going to be one of the best championship weekends as a whole that I think we've ever watched.
Now, keep in mind, the NFL is smart. There's a reason why they put the Chiefs and the Bengals the last championship game on Sunday, because all eyes are going to be on this matchup.
Oh, for sure. If Cincinnati goes 4-0 against Kansas City, think about that for a second.
They are the kryptonite to Kansas City.
They are the kryptonite to Kansas City, without a doubt. And you can't say no.
Until the Chiefs, they will play again next year because they both won their respective divisions. So round 5 is guaranteed to happen.
It is guaranteed.
It is guaranteed to happen. But here in round 4, we have a Super Bowl on the line. And Chris Palmer, I turn to you and ask you the question, who you got?
I want you to know I've been running all 4 of these games in my head for a week.
Mm-hmm.
This was the hardest pick I've ever had to make.
Yeah.
And again, you're going to hate me.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cincinnati's going to the Super Bowl. I've been saying it for weeks. They're the one team that's equipped to beat Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
They can do it one more time.
They can absolutely do it.
So my pick for the Super Bowl is San Francisco versus Cincinnati. I'm so excited for these conference championship games. Who do you have?
Man, I'm not going to lie. Objectively, Cincinnati just seems to be the better team.
Are you going mind over heart right now?
No. I'm going heart over mind right now. I'm taking the Chiefs. But here's why.
Okay.
I think that Mahomes, he is, as much as, like you said, Joe Burrow is a generational talent, like Mahomes is, to me, he is the standard for quarterback. Like he right now, like without a doubt in my mind, he is still the best quarterback in the league right now. And I think even him at 80% or whatever percentage, not 100%, I still think he can deliver a Hall of Fame caliber game. I love the matchup with Andy Reid where it's like, hey, look, we have, like you said, we have 3 games to look at. We know exactly what they want to do, what they're good at. I like their coaching. I like their offense is the number 1 offense in the league. But like you said, their defense is horrific. Horrific. I thought last week Chris Jones was going to really impact the game. He did not.
He was a mute.
He was gone. I didn't even realize he played until I looked at the stat sheet. I said, "Oh, he had a tackle."
He had 1 tackle.
He had 1 tackle.
Chris Jones has 1 tackle. That's a problem.
I know. So I think that defense, you got to play inspired, man, because Joe Burrow, he's coming in hot.
They're coming in ready.
The Bengals are the hottest team. They have not lost since they played in Baltimore in October.
Yeah,
they are like on a 10-game winning streak.
10-game
winning streak right now. And they are coming in red hot to Kansas City. And they are coming in with swagger. And don't get me wrong. I hate the Bengals as a team. As a team, I hate them.
Can't help but respect them.
I respect them, but I respect and admire Joe Burrow more as a player, as an individual player, as a quarterback. I love his swagger, the way he plays the game. He is a phenomenal quarterback. I just hate that he's a Bengal.
Right. The fact that we have to fucking see him two times a year for the next 10 fucking years.
In my case, it was 3, and it was horrible. And I'm taking the Chiefs to win this game. I think the Chiefs and Mahomes can have a historic game to beat a rival that is here to challenge them. This game is going to be great. I cannot wait for this matchup. So with that being said, I'm taking the Chiefs and the Eagles to meet in the Super Bowl.
All right.
I want a Kelsey Super Bowl.
A Kelsey Bowl.
I want to see a Kelsey Bowl.
Right. Well, there you have it, guys. It is championship weekend. We have our Super Bowl picks. They are in. This is going to be a historic championship weekend. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Give us your Super Bowl picks. Who do you think is going to win? It's all here. It's right now. This is what's happening.
We are in for a fantastic championship weekend, and I am so excited.
I'm so excited, and we will be here next week to talk the Super Bowl. Oh, my God. I can't believe it's here already. Thanks, guys.